Hey, how's it going? You're looking at my website, which is not a Gatsby website. This is my new website, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I initially chose Gatsby and then why I moved off of it. But before I do that, let's take a look at this little website. So it's HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, simple little website, but I've got something kind of cool here. So I have, some of my projects here, right? So you can look and, oh yeah, he's got a YouTube channel, which you know because you're watching my video. You can read about some projects I've done. I have an About Me section, but I also have an About You section. So if you go in here and click into this, you're going to find out that this website knows a little bit about you. So why don't you go give it a try and see if it can figure out exactly where you are, what operating system you're using. It's kind of cool. Okay, so why was Gatsby a bad choice for me? So initially I moved from Laravel to Gatsby. So in 2019 I had a blog and a web page, and that was done with Laravel, which is like Ruby on Rails, right? It's server rendered, but there was a lot of little things I didn't really like about it, and Gatsby was super hot at the time, so I thought Gatsby is perfect. I was really happy with it, and I rolled out my new website with Gatsby. But yeah, so there were some issues. All right, so there were a lot of things I was super excited about with Gatsby. The first thing is I could write my static website in React. So let me just show you. This is the website that I had here, right? And so this is my Gatsby website, and it's all written in React. So that means that, yeah, each of these is a component, right? And then I pass in props to that component, and I was super happy with the way that worked. The other thing I liked about Gatsby is it uses a modern tool chain. So, I've got my TypeScript, right? I've got TS-lint in there, prettier, super happy about all that. Another cool thing about Gatsby is it would do all kinds of optimizations I would never even think to do. This includes things like preloading the next page that the person might visit, so it feels instantaneous when they go to visit it. It would also pre-render different versions of all my images. So here you can see like tom.png, there's a whole bunch of different versions of it. Same thing with my logo, so it will know, okay, I'm gonna send you the small version, right? Like the tiny version of it. And then once that's loaded, we're gonna send in the bigger one, and then it'll change seamlessly. But I think the biggest thing, moving away from Laravel to Gatsby was not having to worry about a server. So with Laravel, you're in charge of a server. You're probably in charge of Nginx. You have to keep those things updated. You probably have to worry about, your certificates, that type of thing. With Gatsby, it's a static site, so you just ship it up and you're done. All right, so what's the issue? You've got this website, everything looks great. What is wrong with Gatsby? I need to emphasize here, like, Gatsby is wrong for me. It's not wrong for everybody, right? It's probably great for bigger teams. If you have a bunch of people collaborating on things, Gatsby is probably amazing. If you're serving millions and millions of users a month, oh yeah, that's probably super important to you. But for somebody like me who has, web pages that get maybe a dozen unique views in a month, there are a few issues with Gatsby. Okay, first thing, writing my website in React actually kind of sucks. All right, so if you look at my new website here, this is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it's super easy to find where things are and to edit anything because it's a really, really small website that only I'm working on, right? So yeah, you've got HTML, you've got CSS, and you've got JS, and you're done. But with my other website, with this one, trying to figure out, okay, where is this actually being loaded in? Where's this data coming from? Is this in the component? Which component is it in? Is it in the projects component, the project component? It's a real headache, especially because I'm not working on this every day. I'm working on this maybe every 8 months. I'll add something to it, right? So I have to come back and relearn the entire project structure. Whereas with this thing, no, it's all there. It's all in one page. Having to deal with a modern toolchain actually kind of sucks for really small websites. So it is great, if you're on a team, right? And you say, okay, let's add in this module, let's add in this. But for me, it's more of a headache because it just means my dependencies are always out of date. So my personal website that I don't ever want to touch, everything's always super out of date. So if I want to add something, like, I'm pretty sure all of these dependencies are very out of date just because I haven't been keeping up with updating my personal website, right? That very few people visit. And, I also don't know what a lot of these things are, right? Because I'm not really interested in getting to be a Gatsby expert. If I was doing that for work, sure, maybe, but for something I'm just kind of playing around with now and then, it's annoying that, like, Gatsby plugin sharp, I have no idea what that does. It's out of date, got to fix it. All right, next thing, all the optimizations Gatsby did were slow, confusing, and, kind of pointless. Gatsby has plugins that are optimizing things for me, but I don't really know how these plugins work, and they often seem to be out of date and there seem to be issues when I try and update them. But also building Gatsby, again, my website is tiny. Building Gatsby is not fast. I'm gonna make you watch this whole thing, right? Imagine you're just trying to build your website here. Oh, there it goes, okay. It's doing all the stuff, again, for the simplest website in the world, right? And this is assuming it actually works, because a few times this worked locally, and then in my build pipeline, which you have to have, it just craps out on me, and I have no idea why. I mean, how can this be taking so long? Okay, so it took 38 seconds to build my Gatsby site. I mean, 38 seconds is a long time to wait for something like this. Again, this is probably fine if you're working on a team with a very important website, you know, mission critical. But for an unimportant website like mine, this is a headache. Yeah, the last problem is I just have to worry about updating my little website, you know. So if I see on Twitter there's a new version of Gatsby, I don't get excited. I think, oh, great. Okay, so my website's further out of date. I've got to update this thing. No longer the case for me. I also updated my blog to use Hugo, which is a static site generator, because I didn't really want to write a blogging engine. That gets complicated. So I'm using Hugo, which is Go based. So let's just compare how long it takes to build my blog with Gatsby versus how long it takes to build my blog with Hugo. Okay, on this side I have Gatsby build, and this side I have Hugo, right? So this is for my blog, this is my old blog. We're gonna race these two. I'll even start this one first. I'll give it a little bit of a head start because Hugo is already done, right? This is the same blog. It's the exact same blog. Right now, Hugo is not optimizing all of my images. It's not doing all the other little things that Gatsby does that are super unimportant for my blog, right? All right, sad news. Can't really tell you how long Gatsby took because it failed. There was a Webpack issue. And do I want to diagnose this? Certainly not. All right, just to clarify for the 100th time, Gatsby is probably a phenomenal tool for the right team. But for somebody like me who doesn't want to learn the ins and outs of Gatsby, right? Like, I'm a competent dev. I could spend that time. I don't want to. I want to add something funny to my blog, right? Or, you know, change the font on my website and be done with it and not worry about build pipelines and optimization and all the other things that Gatsby requires me to worry about. And I decided to Google it now, and it turns out, like, I'm not alone. There's other people who are also having issues with Gatsby. You know, these are a year ago. Perhaps Gatsby's better now. And yeah, this guy brings up a good point, like, about GraphQL. Gatsby fetches all its data with GraphQL, even the local data you have, which, I mean, for me, is just like a headache. Like, I'm actually, you know, pretty good at editing text. I'll just put it in the HTML. I can, you know, fix that way faster than I can write a GraphQL query to query a JSON file on my, anyway. All right, but what do you think? Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe Gatsby is amazing and I'm missing like something really important, or there's some way to, you know, use Gatsby in a way that isn't a real headache. Let me know, and I hope you're having a great day. Happy New Year.